Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
That's right, it's Intelligent Talk. Welcome, folks, to the Intrepid radio program right here on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. For anybody else out there who's catching this show somewhere else in a different way. This is the place to come if you want to join the best chat room that plays during the show. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/Scotty Roberts, but there's no chat room there. There's just the comments section. And those you got to keep refreshing to see them. So this is still over on my YouTube, the best place. You can be over on Facebook catching this show in a couple of different places over there. And this is still the best chat room. You can go to X, formerly Twitter, and catch this show playing. But there's no chat room. All you can do is comment. So if you want to chat along with us, come on over to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And you can join the other people that are already chatting, all the brother and sister Intrepids that are out there. And welcome to everybody who's here. Leslie, I see you out there. Welcome. It's always good to have you here. And Elvis, it's good to see you. And Field Guy and Roger Rabbit. I think you're the only ones in the chat room at the moment. Of course, it always grows as we goes. So more people will stream in here pretty soon. Welcome, and I'm glad that you're here tonight. And this is it. This is the Intrepid. It's not a radio broadcast, but I'm so used to saying that I can't seem to get it out of my lexicon. So it's the Intrepid radio broadcast or the Intrepid broadcast. And right here on my YouTube channel until further notice. And what else can I tell you? If you want to support this show, you can see down below, there's a little join button. Hit that join button, and you can see 3 different ways to not become just a member, but to join up with us. Or not to subscribe, but to become a member and join. And that's ways that you can help us pay the expenses and perhaps even do better things if we ever get there. So spread the word about the show if you like it. Help me get more followers in. Do like the show over on the YouTube channel. That helps my numbers. It helps what goes on. That's the business side of doing this. So I appreciate it already in advance. If you want to do more, you can go over to my Patreon page, and there are ways to join there too. And do a little donating to the cause here. And I know there's a million different things that ask us for our money. I get stuff all day long. I've been on my phone just a few minutes ago, getting all kinds of things, getting Republican things, getting political things, getting UFO things, getting ghost things, all those things, books, papers, newspapers, news sites, all these things are looking for dollars to stay afloat. And so I'm just another one of them, but you're my listeners, so I'm passing that on to you. Help me get some more listeners and bring them in here and let them know that we're here if you want to, and I appreciate that. Let's see, what does Elvis say? Scotty, you have to go full screen. Yes, I do. I always keep this up for just a few minutes, Leslie. Sometimes I forget because I get into talking. But during the introductory stuff, I leave it up for a little bit just so people coming in can see what's going on tonight. And I do want to ask you what you think of this whole thing of alien life and the possibility of alien life. There are so many different angles that we can hit the whole question of aliens and UFOs and ufology and all of that. As I research it, I know about this much about this stuff. Not that I haven't written about it and I haven't talked about it. I've held conferences revolving around it. I've done all of the things that talk about extraterrestrial life and alien life, but the real side of it beyond just the speculative part or the part that says, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we encountered alien life? Anything beyond that, I find that there is so much to look at. There's the whole disclosure issue. There's people still working on disclosure with the government. I don't know what is really there with the government. You've got to think that there is information out there with all the talk that's been going on. And as we know, a conspiracy theory is a conspiracy theory until you find out that it isn't a conspiracy theory and hasn't been all the way along. So, knowing what's out there, knowing what we've come in contact with, from there's so much mystique surrounding like the Eisenhower days, the days post World War II, from the Roswell incident all the way up, and the advance in technology. Is our advance in technology, can that be attributed to alien technology, extraterrestrial technology? Does that exist? There was the rise in transistor radios, or the transistor came out not long after the Roswell incident. And there are many that claim that that technological leap came out of reverse engineered alien technology. Then you've got guys like Bob Lazar, who come out and talk about their experiences at working at Area 51 and the things they discovered. And he was kind of poo-pooed early on when he came out in the 80s, and they thought him to be kind of a crackpot. He was painted in that those tones. Yet we come to find out that some of the things he talked about are real, different elements and things like that. And so it's very interesting to start looking into this topic, but you'll find very soon that it is very convoluted is not the word, maybe convoluted to me, but there is so much information involved that there are people who have dedicated their whole careers and life to deciphering all this information. And I am just not one of those people. I glean information and I enjoy the things that I read in here. If any of you were involved in joining us when I was putting on the Paradigm Symposiums, that was back 2012 through 2016. We did the Paradigm Symposiums. We did 4 of them, I think. 2012, 2013, 2014. I think 2015 got moved into 2016. That's what we had to do. We had to move one of them up or back. And so we did 4 symposiums. And if you weren't part of that, that was a pretty fun, glorious time in my career in all of this. In my writing career, started around the same time, or my publishing of books anyway. My first book, of course, being The Rise and Fall of the Nephilim with New Page Books, and I've published with them ever since. And so there are people that we've had at those events. We had all the Ancient Aliens cast and all the people from that show on at the first one, and some of them at the second one. Scott Walter from America Unearthed in the second and the third one. And so many people that I was able to come in contact with. And so many of them have so many different theories about what's going on in ufology, what's going on in the alien research community. Micah Hanks was and is still a big one in that field. If you remember Micah, he was really my partner in that first Paradigm Symposium and the second one. And then John Ward came on board for the last 2. And so a lot of people I met and knew, and a lot of information rolling around out there. I allude to some of it sometimes when I've talked about experiences I've had with people who've had experiences, and I spoke with lots of people that are considered, what would you call them, the who's who kind of people in the ufological community, the alien community, from George Norrie to, which, by the way, I'll just throw in there, I just got an invite from his producer, George Norrie, Coast to Coast, a couple of months back it's very recent. I said, I don't have a book ready yet. And she said, as soon as your book's ready, call us. We'd like to get you on again. So I've been on George Norrie's show about 5 or 6 times. And so I made some very good inroads into communicating with George Norrie, who, of course, talks to everybody. There was all kinds of people like Dr. Stanton Friedman, who wrote some of the quintessential books on the Roswell incident. There was there's some people I'm trying to think of Linda Moulton Howe was one, and several other people that you would recognize. Of course, Eric von Daniken, who wrote Chariots of the Gods, big cornerstone of Ancient Aliens, and all the people on that show. Philip Coppens, the late Philip Coppens. And so I was able to find a lot of information through these people, and the exposure to them. Some of it got a little far-fetched. It got a little bit out there, like Ancient Aliens. Loved the show. I was on several episodes of that show a few years back. But it's something where I would say I would separate myself from the ancient alienist community, because I don't think everything they talk about as being responsible for happening in humanity due to ancient aliens is really so. Yeah, I was not a dyed-in-the-wool ancient alienist. So all of these things are questions that I have dealt with, that all of us have gleaned to one extent or the other. We've got somebody that listens to the show that Niall is a good friend of, and I'm a friend of his, although I haven't talked to him for years, a friend on social media. I just did some design work for him a while back. Shawnee Monami. Monami, or I think that's how you pronounce it. I got to look it up now. Shawnee is one of them. He's got some things that he would like to present on this show, and I'd like to get him on. I've got a couple of other people that I'd like to get on as guests on this show. I just haven't gone there and started the whole guest process again. We're going to start doing that with the show, getting more guests on that we can interview and talk to. So the information is out there, and there's a ton of it. And I'm going to get into just touching a little bit tonight on this whole topic of the search for intelligent life. We all know about SETI, or at least I think you do, that big array of reception discs, radar discs. They've been searching for many years for intelligent life, and they do this scientifically. And they're looking to see if they get signals, and sometimes they get signals. But here's the big question that I'm asking for tonight is, what happens if we detect alien life? Scientists have been listening for signals from extraterrestrial civilizations for decades now. But what would they do if they actually heard one? Now, have you ever seen the movie Contact, based on Carl Sagan's book, Contact, of the same name? And Jodie Foster played in that movie, and Matthew McConaughey. And I thought that was an excellent movie. And when that came out, I had read the book, but that movie pulled me back into it a little bit. It came out, 10, 15 years ago now, but well worth watching if you have not seen it. And that is a movie and a book that asks that question. And it shows those couple of sides of that. What if we actually detected a signal? And what would that mean for us? And it was an emotional movie in the sense that it was the scientist, the one who had been looking for extraterrestrial life, but wasn't sure what to expect. She was the one that got the contact and was able to follow it up. And it created an existential crisis for her. So there is a big question that I ask when I'm asking about what if we detect ancient life. especially now, today, are we too buried and soaked up in our current events that questions like this are being pulled off of our track? It's now become the stuff out there. We don't think about it quite as much, or we think about it too much in order to distract ourselves from all the crap that's going on in the world around us. So look at our world and say, wow, is our attention in the wrong place if we're thinking about extraterrestrial life? Or is our attentions in the right place if we're thinking about that? I have often thought and mused even on this show, what if we detected alien life, detected that signal, and that alien life contacted us? What would that do to our view of our world? I've asked this question before, and I see Professor Bauer in there. I know he asks these kinds of questions all the time. What would happen to us as a civilization on this planet if suddenly we knew we weren't the only kids on the block? And I brought up and I've mused over it, and John Ward and I used to joke about it, and so did Rocky and I, is what about, they talk about this galactic federation that already exists. Now, we have to get out of our minds the ideas that we get from Star Trek and Star Wars, because you say galactic federation, what's the first thing that pops to your mind? If you're a Star Trek fan, it's the Federation, it's Starfleet. It's all of that. And of course, that's all fictionalized. But there are those out there that say, this already exists. We have already been contacted. It's just not made worldwide for certain reasons. Robert Bauer says, read the recent Harvard study. There's 4 delineations from ancient to future, according to their findings. Okay, I jumped in on the middle of something there. That you're talking back and forth. You're talking about reading ancient cosmology. Aliens have been here for millennia. Yeah. That we are not alone. We are not, and about the only thing that, the only corner of my life where I was taught that, there's nothing else out there, was my fundamental conservative Baptist upbringing. That Christian right that said, and not upbringing because of my family, upbringing by my choice, that I entered into as a kid and followed all the way through my ministry years. It's one of, well, God obviously didn't create other life anywhere. That was all stuff that God created for himself, the beauty of the universe. But the only life is here, because if there was life other places, I heard somebody use this as a not an excuse, a reason for not believing that there's other life. Well, then Jesus would have had to come and die on other worlds too. And we don't read about any of that in the Bible. And I say, well, it doesn't, we don't read about black holes in the Bible either, but we know they exist. We already know that, from comets or meteors that and rocks that have come here that we know are from Mars, from meteorite, that some of that contains fossilized microbial life. I was going to say mineral, microbial life. And so what does that mean for us? We know there is life out there. The big question is there life out there that is intelligent life? And are we ever going to be able to make connections with it? Will we ever contact it? Do we want to contact it? I saw a group of scientists that were interviewed very seriously about the possibility of alien life visiting us, intelligent alien life that had developed the technology to travel here. And they, of course, postulated, well, if that technology exists, why aren't they traveling here all the time? Or maybe they are. And there's a reason they're not contacting us. But one of them, not just one of them, postulated that he believed it would be a lot like the conquistadors coming to Native America centuries ago, coming to find resources, coming to find uh, enslave people, take over. That is what some of these guys postulated. That maybe this is what it's about. You read when I do the studies on the Nephilim and the reptilians, and I've dug into the Sumerian texts and the old cuneiform texts, which talk about how the Anunnaki, the race of gods that lived here in ancient times, how they have their own Garden of Eden story. I think the Garden of Eden story that we find in Judeo-Christianity, in the Jewish books and in Christian books, literature, are all the same story. But in the more ancient Sumerian stories, it talks about how they wanted to, it was Enlil conscripted his brother god Enki and Enki Ea to create primordial man, to do our bidding for us, to dig our trenches, to till our ground, to do all these things. So the stories exist in ancient religion of extraterrestrial races that came here and took primordial man and brought him up, evolved him quickly, bred him to have the intelligence we have now. What do we think of all that when we read these things? Robert Bauer says black holes do not exist as defined. They're theories. That's true. I mean, we've caught pictures of them. We don't know what they are really. We don't know how to define them because we can't go in and study them. We can only observe them and hypothesize. So, do black holes exist? Maybe. Maybe there's something else. We call them black holes. There's all kinds of things in the universe that exist, is my point. That they exist and we know they exist. Stars exist, planets exist, solar systems exist, galaxies exist. And as I have mentioned on this show before, and as many of us have heard before, with the Hubble telescope, they were able, was it the advanced Hubble telescope? It was about 10 or 12 years ago. They did that infrared shot up in the sky. They took an area of sky where you don't see anything with the naked eye. And it would be about the size of your pinky fingernail if you stuck it up and held it up and looked at the sky. And they did a 10-day infrared photograph of that area. And when it came out, they found that little tiny area that they were looking at had over 10,000 galaxies in it. So when you have that many galaxies in that little tiny speck, they exponentially figured that there are billions of galaxies out there. So H9, nobody else immediately thinks of Soundgarden when they hear black hole. There you go. JP said that to Sarah, I think, or somebody, field guy. So I don't think of Soundgarden when I hear black hole. Now I do. Now I will all the time. Thank you very much. So when all the stuff that's going on in the world is happening around us, is it important to even speculate about this stuff? Is it important to talk about it? Is it important to wish that it might be so? Now, I've always wanted to know that there's extraterrestrial life, whether there is or not. But at the same time, I don't think I wish it to have, I wish they would come and take me. It's not that kind of thing. It's the one that if it exists, I wish we could make contact and find out, unless they're here to eat us. So then I wouldn't want to know. So at least not experience it. So there's a question that there's so much going on in our world today. What would happen, do you think, if we found out there was extraterrestrial life? What if there was? Yes, to serve men. Thank you. That was the Outer Limits, I believe. Or was it a Twilight Zone? I don't remember. Old one, old black and white one. So, thank you for that, by the way, Sarah. Yes, to serve men. So what would happen here? What would happen to our religions? What would happen to our spiritualities? What would happen to our governments? What would happen to our borders? What would happen with all the different, just think of all the different extreme radical religions that are out there. Extreme radical Islam, extreme, I don't know if you could call it extreme radical Christianity. There's probably a handful of those somewhere. But these religions that think that they're the only ones that are right or that exist. What happens to those? What happens to our borders and our governments? When we realize we're the small kid on the block? That's a good question. Now, do you think, opinions, you can put it in the chat room, is it a vain, empty pursuit to look for extraterrestrial life, especially when we don't have the ability or the power or the technology to pursue it? Leslie says, in my opinion, radical religion go hand in hand. Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Leslie. The older I get, the more I look at things, I have to agree with you. So, what if we were to detect alien life? Scientists have been listening to these signals through SETI and other organizations, and not long ago, they picked up some random signals that were not so random, and it sent everybody skittering and giving news reports and all of this. What happens if they actually heard an actual message from somewhere else in the galaxy or the universe? We've heard not one peep from aliens, so far as we know. Aliens meaning aliens to life on Earth. We might be the aliens to them. They exist. But improved technology is speeding up the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. That's SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. So what happens if today's silence suddenly gives way to tomorrow's discovery of alien life? Think about that. What would happen if we found out maybe a day before the Trump-Biden debates, which is the day after tomorrow? Not 2 days from now, 3 days from now, Thursday, I think it is. Or is it it's not tonight. It's 26th, I believe. 2 days from now. What would happen if on the 25th we got this? Would the debates be important anymore to us? That's an interesting question. Delaney Pearl Jones says in the chat room, Scotty, I have multiple pics and vids of my encounters and confirmation of communication. Cool. I've seen some of those. So we know something is there. But yet, sad to say, Delaney, that's not something that's going to prove it to the world. What proves it to the world would be something landing on the lawn of the White House or the lawn of the Capitol Green or some other country or something very visible, something known to everybody. Yeah, it's Thursday night, I think, Field Guy. So we've never heard a peep from anybody out there, so far as we know. And will aliens, if they exist out there, extraterrestrials, will they only contact us through our governments? Or will they be like they've contacted Delaney Pearl Jones? They've contacted whoever else in this chat room claims it. I know people that have claimed to be abductees. They're now calling them survivors of abduction. That's contact on a totally different level. And it's an individual level as opposed to a corporate level. Would the world, do you think, rejoice in the news that someone else is out there? Would euphoria engulf humanity? Would Nobel Prizes be doled out like after dinner mints to all these people who've been doing the research? That's one view of this. But many people think the discovery would be hushed up as quickly as a mafia informant, assuming that the public couldn't handle the news. Or scarier still, kept secret for fear that an unauthorized response would tell a hostile race exactly where to send their interstellar battle wagons. I mean, what's the fear? Since there are so many people like Richard Greer, not Richard Greer. I was thinking of Richard Gere. Greer, is it David Greer? I can't think of his first name off the top of my head. Leading the big movement, one of the big leaders of the movement for disclosure from our government. I sat on a bus with him. I told you all this before. Back in 2012, Micah Hanks and I were invited to this big event, a private event. No public allowed, just they invited speakers like us and people who've written and things like that to this event out in Pennsylvania. And there were some people afterwards that were in attendance at that were putting out, do you think this ever really happened? Were we all brainwashed? Were we all, I remember it very clearly, the whole thing. Is that an implanted memory? I was asked once. No, I don't think so. So Stephen Greer, there it is. Thank you, Professor. And so there are people that lead some of this stuff up. Now, that's melodramatic enough, but has any serious consideration gone into what happens when our efforts to detect cosmic intelligence pay off and we find a blip of a signal in the sea of radio noise that pours into the SETI antennas? Because everything out there is coming in on radio waves of some kind or another. Some is just the sound of stars. It's interesting stuff when you start looking into it. But some think that addressing this question, even in a speculative way, is hubristic at best and wildly presumptuous at worst. After all, what? SETI scientists have been torquing their telescopes toward celestial targets for more than a half a century without ever detecting such a signal. And if we haven't won the ET lottery in all that time, why are we worrying about what would happen if we got the winning ticket? Simple. SETI researchers are buying more tickets all the time, and the chances of scoring the big one keep going up. As computer power improves, new detection technology comes out of the labs. One of the things I was looking at for going into tonight was the AI and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. AI being incorporated into it now. And it was so technical, I thought, I don't want to bore everybody. I want to go for kind of that emotive side of this. I want to ask these questions that make us think and want to talk about it and ask the questions. So we can save the high-tech stuff for another time. But as all our technology increases, the search is accelerating. And unless the aliens are excessively secretive or simply non-existent, we could find evidence for their presence probably within decades. So again, that brings us back to the original question. So then what? Will I be alive when this happens? I don't know. At best, very best, if I stayed healthy and did the right things, I could live maybe another 4 decades. 4 decades. Most probably another 2, maybe 3 if I'm lucky. But I predicted 104, so I'll make it to 104. We'll see what happens then. But there have been some immediate reactions. In the spring of 1960, just before I was born, in the fall of 1960, astronomer Frank Drake performed, you've heard the Drake equation, maybe, if you're into any of this at all. He performed the first modern SETI experiment, whimsically dubbed Project Ozma, after L. Frank Baum's fictional Queen of Oz. And what few people realize is that he actually detected something while pointing his antenna at the nearby sun-like star of Epsilon, or Eridani. Drake heard a strong hammering signal. Surprised by how quickly his search succeeded, he wondered, what do we do now? Now, Drake answered his own question by rigging up additional equipment, and he soon proved that the throbbing beats from his loudspeaker were terrestrial interference, not Iridians trying to phone our home. So Project Ozma could tune to only one frequency at a time, but today's SETI receivers, they simultaneously monitor hundreds of millions of channels, and consequently picking up a signal is neither remarkable nor rare, and a few dozen typically came up with each scan. Could you imagine what that was like for Drake to hear that first throbbing, beating, regular sound? I remember what it was like growing up in the 60s as a kid, in the 70s as a teen. There was a certain mystique about all of us that's kind of vanished now. The mystique isn't as strong as it was because of our technology, because of the things we do know. But picking up a signal is neither remarkable nor rare nowadays. A few dozen typically come up with each scan. Now, naturally, no one gets very excited about this. Instead, researchers rely on sophisticated software to perform the tedious task of deciding whether these signals are likely to be alien intelligence or, as in Drake's case, just more human-caused radio static. So only rarely does any signal survive this automatic scrutiny. But if and when that happens, a series of additional tests occur. Eventually, the astronomers running the experiment ask someone at another observatory to verify the detection, to rule out equipment bugs, coding errors, pranks, and all kinds of bullshit like that. So the scenario for handling a signal is briefly described in a document developed under the auspices of the International Academy of Astronautics, and referred to as SETI detection protocols. And these are the best practices boiled down to: 1, carefully verify that the signal is truly extraterrestrial; 2, inform other scientists and the public; and 3, seek international approval before transmitting any reply. Those are kind of the protocols under which they operate. Here's some of them. This is the abridged SETI detection protocols. They go like this: confirm detections. If the verification process confirms that a signal is due to extraterrestrial intelligence, the discoverer shall report this conclusion in a full and complete open manner to the public, the scientific community, and the Secretary General of the United Nations. Anyway, all data necessary for the confirmation of the detection should be made available to the international scientific community through publications, meetings, conferences, and other appropriate means, or social media nowadays. So the discovery should be monitored. Any data bearing on the evidence of extraterrestrial intelligence should be recorded, stored permanently to the greatest extent feasible and practicable. If the evidence of the detection is in the form of electromagnetic signals, observers should seek international agreement to protect the approximate frequencies by exercising the extraordinary procedures established within the World Administrative Radio Council of International Telecommunication Union, or the WARCITU. Does that spell anything? Warkitu. So, posting the detections has to look like this, according to their protocols. A post-detection task group under the auspices of the SETI Permanent Committee has been established to assist in matters that may arise in the event of a confirmed signal, and to support the scientific and public analysis by offering guidance, interpretation, and discussion of the wider implications of the detection. And then the response to the signals, in case of the confirmed detection of a signal, signatories to this declaration will not respond without first seeking guidance and a consent of a broadly representative international body such as the United Nations. Now, this was all from the International Academy of Astronomics Commission 1 Space Physical Sciences meeting on October 2nd of 2011. That's when that was all written. That's just an abridged version. So let's see. I'm just going, I'm seeing some things popping up over in the chat room. Robert Bauer, Professor Bauer says Western Abrahamic religions will lose their collective inclusive shit. Eastern belief systems will embrace. It's going to be revolutionary. Now, it's interesting that in my book, The Rise and Fall of the Nephilim, which came out in 2012, in that book, I included a quote from Pope John Paul, who a few years earlier had said, I don't think, he says, that the existence of extraterrestrial life would change my belief in a bit at all. And it shouldn't change Christianity at all. And he gave his reasons, and I quoted him in my book, just a short quote of his. But his thinking was that, yeah, they might lose their shit, as Professor Bauer says. But at the same time, they might say, hey, that's cool. Jesus still came here and died for my sins. It doesn't matter what's going on out there. If that's out there, that's great. That's out there. We welcome it. God's creation as well. This is kind of the tack that the Pope took. And I kind of went along with that for a long time. I'm like, hey, that's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. There used to be a video about the sound of space. It was kind of creepy. Yeah, I've heard that. The sound of space. It was very creepy sounding. It was like something out of a horror movie almost. Not screaming and screeching, just it was odd. If I could find it, I'll play that. But during the well, hey, let's move on. I was getting back into that whole commission thing, but let's look at it this way and kind of put on the brakes a little bit and go, not so fast, not so fast, not so fast. Okay. These are all patently good ideas that SETI and their governing body has put together. And they seem to suggest that everyone would handle a discovery very soberly and intelligently and, well, very good. Crack the champagne and let's write up our report and send it in. The problem is such interesting signals are bound to provoke a response that's both messy and confused because verification would take many days at the least. And during all that time, word of the possible detection is surely going to spread via blogs and tweets from the researchers themselves. And there's no policy of secrecy in SETI. There's no law or no rule that you have to live by. And we've already heard of some things in recent year or so where there were sounds where they think this is something. I don't know whatever came of that. Obviously not contact that we know of. So you can bet that long before any official press conference announcing that we found the aliens, you'll have heard about it probably many times over. And you're going to have to brace yourself for plenty of future false alarms caused by signals that at first blush look promising. And this has occurred in the past and shows the error of those who think that a discovery could be covered up. Can't cover this shit up. Sarah Yusuf says, I would be interested how aliens would communicate with us. Would they be emotional beings in order to connect with us? I don't know. That's an interesting question. Because they're not going to speak the Queen's English or the King's English, are they? Unless they've been listening for decades. Who knows? I don't know how they would communicate with us. It'd be very interesting. Maybe the learning curve would be rather small. How would we communicate with a race that we don't know how to communicate? What if they don't speak the way we speak? That's the thing. We're used to Star Trek and Star Wars, and aliens all have humanoid type bodies with all different kinds of heads and shapes and ears and arms and other extremities. And they all have, like, Dune was probably one of the first times I saw this, where they had these universal translators like Star Trek, but that would translate, and weird looking beings and so on. But any detection is going to be a headliner, and everyone agrees with that. SETI practitioner Paul Horowitz of Harvard University in Cambridge, Massachusetts, says it would be easily the most interesting discovery in human history. Journalists would go wild, at least for a month or two. So astronomer Jill Tarter, who heads the SETI Institute's listening efforts in Mountain View, California, concurs. She said, the general public will be in an excited state for a while, fueled by the media, but UFO enthusiasts will yawn because they knew it all along. Just like Delaney Pearl Jones. We knew it all along. They said, I'm not surprised. I've been talking to him for years, say some people. My wife, if you missed this story once, when I was writing my second book for New Page, my book on the reptilians, Rainey told me she had seen somebody out our bedroom window, and we had a big bedroom window that looked into the back yard, and we were on the end of a block, and so there were houses that went in either direction from us, a couple of houses, then down the sides, and we had this big open strip, like a big field, and it was full of oak trees, and at night it was very cool, but very dark. And she said she saw at the window what she could only describe as reptilian beings looking in. And she was very unnerved by this. And I was in my office, and it was late at night. I was writing, and she saw that, and she told me later. This isn't the one where she said, I said, well, why didn't you tell me? She saw something, and I was sleeping, and why didn't you wake me? She said, well, I didn't want you to think I was nuts. This was early in our relationship. So earlier in our relationship. So anyway, all of that to say that public reaction is, there's going to be people that say, not surprised. I knew that all along. There's a public reaction of initial enthusiasm, and maybe not mayhem as a precedent. Consider the 1996 announcement that NASA scientists had found fossilized Martian microbes in a meteorite. That story ran in the New York Times with billboard-sized headlines for 3 days. The public's reaction to the possible detection of life beyond Earth? That's interesting. Tell us more, we said. And the meteorite story was a stunted reprisal of astronomer Percival Lowell's reports of Martian canals a century earlier. And again, people were tantalized, but very few people seemed to panic. It's like, oh, okay, cool. We kind of thought that. There was that, by the way, if you don't remember, there was a Martian rock that contained fossilized microbes. They were kind of these tube-like structures, less than 1/100th the width of a human hair. And that was in 1996, and the public proved itself capable of handling an extraterrestrial discovery like this. Now, that's microbial life. Now, we know life is out there already. The big question we have, is it going to be life like science fiction? Is it going to be intelligent beings with spaceships that wear silver lame spacesuits? Sarah Yusuf says in the chat room, I would be interested how aliens would communicate with us. Oh, would they be emotional beings? In order to that, I already read that one. Sorry. So yeah, I would be interested with that too. Of course, in 1996, no one felt threatened by dead protozoans, even if they were from Mars. But SETI searches for intelligent life. And given that human beings are still the new kids on the technological block, consider that we've only had radio technology for about 100 years. And that's it. And you can be pretty sure that anyone we hear will be much more advanced than us. Probably much more advanced anyway. It's not a given, but probably. Now, that might sound unsettling, but most people don't see it that way. A 2005 survey, we're talking now almost 20 years ago, by the National Geographic Channel, the SETI Institute, and the University of Connecticut, found that 72% of Americans said they would feel excited and hopeful to learn about a signal from ET. And only 20% confessed that they would be anxious or nervous in any way, shape, or form. So, would you be anxious? Would you be nervous? Would you be excited? I don't know what I'd think yet. I think I'd sit back like I do on a lot of things. I go, that is damned intriguing. I'd like to see where this goes. And our minds would stray already. If all we got was signals, who's sending them? Why are they sending them? How are they sending them? What kind of civilization are they? What do they look like? What do they eat? Hopefully not people. So, again, where would you stand in the anxious, nervous, or excited ratio? Perhaps it's not too surprising, given that any transmission we discover likely will be from beings many hundreds of light years distant, and it's a seemingly safe remove. And at first, we won't know much more than the signal's existence. And if we've picked them up on radio waves that travel over light years, what if that's coming from somewhere that's 100 million light years away? Does that mean that that message was sent 100 million years ago, light years ago, and that by the time it reaches us, those people have long gone that sent it 100 million years ago? So who would they be? What would that civilization be like today? If you could send a spaceship out there to find it, would it even be there anymore? But you can bet your paycheck that every telescope on Earth will aim straight for that transmission. Is a star waiting there? Does it have planets? In the rush to learn more, even a stalled project like NASA's Terrestrial Planet Finder might see new life as scientists shake it out of its comatose state, infuse it with new vigor, hurl it into orbit. What would we do? How would that change us? There are some things we could learn quickly about the signal's source. Within 1,000 light years lie tens of millions of stars. Consequently, a few arc minutes separate them in the sky, on average. A high-resolution radio telescope, such as the Jansky Very Large Array in New Mexico. That's actually capitalized. Jansky Very Large Array, the JVLA in New Mexico, has a beam size of about 5 arc seconds at the commonly used SETI frequency of 1420 megahertz. It would have little difficulty pinpointing which star hosts the detected aliens. We'll know exactly where they live. And that's not all. A couple of decades ago, radio astronomers Jim Cordes and Woodruff Sullivan considered what we might learn by looking at the subtle variations of any alien signal. This includes these small frequency shifts due to the Doppler effect, which alters a signal's frequency according to its motion, as well as intensify changes due to the atmosphere of ET's planet or simply its daily rotation. So careful measurements could theoretically pin down the length of the alien's day and year, the size of their world, the presence of their moons, and possibly even information about their atmosphere and magnetic field. That's interesting. We have the technology to do even that. Now, there's going to be initial questions that we have. Roger Rabbit says, I wonder what in us humans makes us think that we are advanced at all. Maybe we're the cavemen in the universe. We might be searching for signals that went out of use in the universe millennia ago. Oh, you detected our signal? We don't use that. That went out thousands of years ago. Yeah, you're right, Roger. We might not be advanced at all. We might be pretty behind the curve. So, all of that would be really tasty fodder for the technically inclined. But everyone else is going to ask an obvious question. What are the aliens saying? Are they talking to us? Like Sarah said, how do we know what they're saying? That, of course, assumes that they're saying anything at all, that they've included a message in the signal. After all, the extraterrestrials might withhold commentary if they want us to reply first, perhaps so they can gauge what level of conversation is appropriate. We don't have warp drive yet, says Sarah. We do have the warp bubble, though. There's that. My daughter blew one of those with some bubble gum, and it got all over her face and hair. Said, that is a warp bubble. So transported her right to the bathroom. Anyway, let's suppose E.T. is trying to tell us something. Just getting the message bits could be hard. SETI observations add up incoming static for seconds or minutes to increase the sensitivity to weak signals. So this is completely analogous to astronomical photography. The longer the exposure time, the fainter the stuff you can image. Unfortunately, just as a long exposure would obliterate the rapid flashes of an optical pulsar, so too would these long SETI observations smooth away any message. If, for example, the alien transmission included a television-type signal, researchers would need an antenna roughly 10,000 times larger than most of today's radio telescopes to see the picture. Building such an enormous antenna would require impressive amounts of money and time. However, after a signal's detection, it's reasonable to assume that research money would be practically unlimited, unlike today's situation. So, could you imagine that? Do you think governments would be forking over money as well as rich billionaires once we detected an actual signal? Yeah, it would happen. So in the meantime, the public would be confronted with the fact of cosmic company. We wouldn't know what they're like, nor what we might learn from them, only that they exist. Anthropologist Ben Finney of the University of Hawaii at Manoa has predicted that an interpretation industry would quickly sprout. Facile pundits who, out of conviction or merely greed, will explain to the masses what contact means and how we should feel about it. You know what comes to mind is the Star Trek movie First Contact. It was with the Picard and crew from the Next Generation film. And they go into the past. They meet Ephraim Zimbalist. There's Zimbalist. I keep doing that. Ephraim Cochrane. Ephraim Cochrane, I think was his name. The developer of the warp drive in the 21st century. And back then, it was easy as he created a warp drive, he flew it out into space, had a warp signature, and then returned home. They didn't know anything about where to go, what to do, how to travel in the fictional tale. Ephraim Cochrane. There it is. Thank you, Sarah. And you'd think I'd know that off the top. I do know that off the top of my head. I just fumbled over it. So what happened as a result of his flashing? Wasn't giving a signal to anybody. He was just testing a warp drive, and it worked for a few seconds. And who saw it but Vulcans saw it and made first contact with us, a rather primitive culture, us. They were already refined. And that was one of the standards by which they made contact. And first contact was a civilization had achieved warp status, a warp drive status. So in the Star Trek lexicon, the Star Trek universe. And so what's it going to be like if we get contacted? It's not going to be like that. It's going to be a lot of this. There's a signal. What do we make of the signal? How far is it away? And so on and so on and so on. I think I don't want to say it's unlikely, but I'm going to say it's probably outside the realm of what we think it might be like in science fiction when we have actual first-time Cochrane. Yeah, that is an awesome first name, Zephyrin. And if I have another son, I'll name him Zephyrin. It's highly unlikely. So, anyway, in particular, how should religions react? We've kind of hinted at this already. Research in this area is lacking, but most mainstream theologians have expressed the upbeat view that our belief systems could adapt. As Vatican Observatory astronomer Brother Guy Consolmagno has said, if your religion is shown that it survived millennia, it can handle Copernicus, Galileo, even Darwin. Then ET should eventually prove palatable. So there you go, from the Vatican. So mainstream religion might easily incorporate the discovery, but fundamentalists are going to have a much harder time. They're less willing to accept a cosmic circumstance that's not found in Scripture. And unless you're inclined to consider seraphim, Nephilim, or angels as alien beings, most religions don't anticipate the presence of intelligent life on other worlds. An exception is Mormonism. They accept it. So now the fundamentalists would likely rail against the discovery, claiming it's Satan tempting you. It's a lie of Satan. It's how he will draw everybody's attention away from God. So according to a sociologist, Bill Bainbridge of George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, that's his take on it. And so fundamentalists might be the harder nut to crack in this. There's more evidence for aliens than black holes. Are black holes aliens of evidence? I didn't even know that. Dark energy, matter, even Jesus. I'm sure there are. Now, I wasn't claiming that black holes are evidence of aliens. I hope you didn't misinterpret me earlier. I didn't even know they were connected with aliens. I didn't know dark energy or matter were connected with aliens. So, you're saying there's more evidence for aliens than black holes, dark energy, matter, and even Jesus. I don't know about Jesus. There's plenty of evidence that he existed. But I get your point, Professor. I get your point. So, and I would agree with you to a certain extent on that one. So, significance would have to start setting in. Wormholes, that's another one, Sarah says. You got that right, Bauer. There are intents all over the city. Oh, you meant those aliens. Okay. Sorry, I was misreading what you said there, brother. I'm going to move on. Without a doubt, learning of other beings, being among the star fields of the Milky Way would be discomforting to some people. But the most profound consequences of a SETI detection would surely be the long-term impacts, and these would affect everyone. Doesn't matter if you're a fundamentalist or an atheist. So the degree to which a signal would alter the lives of our descendants depends on whether we could decode any attached message. Back to Sarah's question, how do we understand what they're saying? And this might sound like a tractable problem, merely a matter of time and effort. After all, humans eventually deciphered hieroglyphics. We had no idea what they said and what they stood for. Linear B and other messages that once seemed as inscrutable as teenage behavior. But the universe is old, and consequently, the content of any message might simply be incomprehensible to our 3-pound hominid brains. Still, let's take the sunny view and assume that we eventually learn what the aliens are saying. Because, as we already noted, they're likely to be well in advance of us. The information might include such practical topics as all of physics and astronomy, the extent and nature of cosmic biology and intelligence, and the weather and how of faster than light travel, and many other things that are the provenance of science fiction today. So to suddenly learn such matters would trigger a sharp discontinuity in our species' history, a kind of a wormhole, if you will, Sarah, to a future that we might otherwise reach only after thousands of millions of years. So aside from such a torrent of knowledge, we'd have to confront the fact that the differences among we humans are of trivial import compared to the gulf between the extraterrestrials and ourselves. Some people, such as Seti's Tartar, the woman we spoke of earlier, suggest that this would lead to more human harmony and less worry that we're on the road to destruction. After all, if they survived all their technical adolescence, then we could too, right? If we're anything alike. Sociologist Don Tartar of the University of Alabama, Huntsville, is less sanguine. He notes that the idea of the world's peoples coming together in sweetness and light, popular in the early days of space exploration, with the first pictures of Earth as a small blue dot, as Carl Sagan said, against a vast dark sky, was shattered by subsequent wars and terrorist attacks. We're back to the usual conflict and competition. What about a response? If we know where the aliens live, do we dare reply with our own shout out? Or would that, as some say, merely expose our planet to possible future destruction because we've given away our existence and position? Then we'd have to assume by that the only reason they're contacting is to make sure is to see if they can find somebody to destroy. I don't know that would be the case, but that would probably be the inevitable outcome, I would think. Come here. What are they here for? To exploit us? To see what they can find? For science? For humanity, their version of humanity? In fact, while no one can say whether aliens would be peaceable or pugnacious, for lack of a better word, we've been sending radio, television, and most visibly radar signals into space inadvertently for more than 90 years. Any society that has the capability to travel interstellar distances and threaten our world could easily pick these leaked signals up. They might be able to sit there and tune in an old episode of The Honeymooners or something. Wow, who are these people sending this message? Indeed, by using their own sun as gravitational lenses, the nearest could theoretically see the lights from our cities. Any deliberate reply from us would simply add to information they may already have. And so this all really culminates in this this great unknown. Frankly, predicting the truly durable consequences of a SETI success is kind of a fool's errand. Consider if members of the Spanish court in 1492 had written a treatise on what the discovery of a new continent might eventually mean. An interesting exercise, but not one likely to have made much currency a few hundred years down the road. But this much we can say: if SETI succeeds, we'll have proof that biology is as much a part of the cosmos as pulsars and pockmarked planets. And while instant brotherhood is unlikely to erupt suddenly on Earth, we'll at least know we're neither the crown of creation nor even particularly exceptional. For as long as our species exists, we'll be aware that we're just one more duck in a row. And you can be sure that that news is going to ruffle some feathers. So what do you think, guys? What do you think of all of that? Let's do this. Let's think about what we want to talk about in the captain's cabin. And we're going to go out. We're going to go take a 2-3 minute break, however long it takes to go through all these bumps I have for the different things we do here. And we'll come back and discuss this some more. If you've got to leave the broadcast, live long and prosper, as our future Vulcan contactees will say to us. And you just sit tight, because we're going to be back in just a few minutes.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Hey folks, this is Scotty Roberts, and this is the Intrepid radio broadcast. I've been broadcasting for about 20 years now, covering such topics as science, politics, the paranormal, weird science, weird world history, archaeology, and the paranormal. Everything from ghosts to cryptids to creepy things that go bump in the night. So every week I bring you 3 new episodes. Come and join my channel and also be a patron to this site. So see the details below, and we'll see you here. Dave, I love you, brother.
I miss you too.
I miss you too, I heard.
Yep,
Did you guys hear that?
I heard that.
I miss you, Dave. Hey, folks, welcome to the captain's cabin. It's good to have you. I'm hearing kids running all up and down the stairs. I don't know what's going on. Hi. What you up to? Careful, I spilled water down there. I dumped this over. It's okay. I wiped it up. It's just still a little damp. I don't want you to slip. So how's everybody doing tonight? I hope you enjoyed that show. And let's have a little conversation about it.
Swimming at night.
Are you interrupting?
Yeah.
Where'd you go at night?
We went swimming. Outside.
Oh, outside? All right. You talk just like your mom.
Me?
Went outside.
Yeah, we did.
Huh.
You
Huh.
said we went swimming. Where did you?
Didn't you know? We were outside. We went outside. We went outside in the back. So, hey, everybody. Here's me and my kids. Well, two of them anyway. So, it's hot and humid here, by the way. That's why they went swimming, I think.
Yeah, and it's
So.
lightning and storming out.
Oh, is it going to storm?
It is.
They've been saying all day it's going to storm tonight.
We're gonna do it tomorrow too, and the day after tomorrow. I jumped in with all my clothes on, pants, shirt, and everything, even my socks.
Well, it is actually cold in the house because of the air conditioning. It's cold down here. You notice how cold it is down here?
Oh, I'm hot.
Well, you just came in from outside.
No,
It's our air conditioning's on, and the upstairs is very comfortable.
I burped. Shut up.
That's fantastic, utterly. And but down here it's freezing cold.
Is this the new one?
So yeah, that's the new one.
You have to get new.
So while I am talking casually on here because we're off the radio show portion,
How does this thing go on?
it's still a radio show.
Yeah, but how does this?
Still a
thing go on?
broadcast. It doesn't. That's a different piece for something totally different.
Do you have to buy new needles?
So I got a new tattoo gun today. It came in the mail. This is what it looks like. It's got red and it's pink was the only color they had left on that. But it's a chargeable one, which is nice. And I've got the black part is plugged in over there. That's the black. The battery's pink, and then there's a black one that's plugged in over there. That's going to go with it. So it's nice. It's electronic, and it does all my depths and all my settings and all of that. So it's pretty neat. Thank you, Chuck Thurston. He says, cute kids. Yeah, I'll send them out for a week. They can live with you.
No, we have a
So-
pool here.
What are you messing with over there?
The tattoo gun.
All right.
It's hers now. She said.
No, I said it's hers to use.
No,
Rowan wants to learn tattooing along with me, so she's going to do that. Maybe by the time
I
she's
also
18, she'll be
wanted to-
fantastic.
I also wanted to.
I'm sure you do.
But you're not special like me.
So, anyway,
Yeah, I'm special. Unlike you.
so, I should put in the invite if anybody wants to call in and talk about this stuff. It's very fun, I think, and exciting information.
Are we talking about Moana?
Shh. Stay quiet, please. Just keep it down. And don't interrupt. So, hey, Chuck Hendrickson. Miss you too, brother. Good to see you. Glad you're in here. So we still have the kids up. It's summertime. So you know what summer's like from when we were all kids. You stay up as late as you want, and you do stuff late at night. So,
sleep till like 2 in the morning, anyways.
oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
You can't
Yeah.
make me go to bed if I don't even go to bed.
Well, I can certainly take all the things away that would keep you awake. So, yes.
Then I'll just stay awake longer.
All right. Okay, please take the cat away. This is okay to come and talk and hang out, but not to be disruptive, okay? Go with the cat. Put the cat down, or go sit with him over there, or sit with him on your lap over here. Totally lost control of what I'm doing on this end, guys. Sorry about that. So it is, for those of you who are newcomers to the show, those of you who don't know how things work here, when we're done with the show, we enter what's now the captain's cabin, the after show. A lot more casual, let our hair down a bit. My kids come in and invade. They listen for my music, so they come running down when we start again. And that's what's going on right now. It's a little more casual side of casual tonight with all my kids in here. And Chuck, I'm happy to see you. That makes my heart feel good that you're there. So good to see you, brother. And Matthew Sainsbury, welcome. Let's see. Yeah, this is a topic we should look at a little bit more. And there's some other things that have been suggested to me that we do about some of the more current stuff that's going on. We love the family, says Roger Rabbit. Yeah, I wish I'd get Rainey in here more often. She's just no, don't get Mom. She doesn't. You can tell her she can come if she wants to. I don't know if she's not in bed. I'd already know. Do not do that stuff while I'm talking on the show. So I don't have to get up and stop the broadcast to deal with it. All right. So, Johan, good to see you. Everybody's coming in at the second hour tonight. Hey, Delaney, I see you there.
Hi. How's it going?
Not bad. How you doing?
I'm all right. Chilling.
Yeah.
I really liked your topic of the show tonight.
Thank you. It's a topic I've always liked and I've always enjoyed it. There is so much about it. So tell me, what's the difference between having alien contact, what we think is alien or extraterrestrial, versus spirit or demonic or angelic or something celestial of that nature? Are they all the same thing? Are they different things?
Oh, they're different. But the weird thing about these beings,
Rainey did come.
There's a war where they're at war with each other. Different races
Like everybody
are
Here,
fighting against different races.
Here, you get up.
And mainly it's...
Sorry, Delaney, I'm distracted.
That's okay.
Come and say hi. Rainey's here to say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Queen Rainey.
Oh,
So they went and got her from wherever she was. She's going to go to bed.
no, I was going to get in bed, and they're like, "Come over," and it's like, "No, I gotta go to work."
Nice.
Early. I worked a long day. I'm tired.
I bet, especially being as hot as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And shouldn't have to be outside working, which is good. So.
Just inside working my butt off. So.
And she's good at it.
Yeah, I remember you guys were talking about that. You demanded a raise and your weekends off because they tried to put you as a slave, and then they tried to kick you out of the job and all that. You're like, no.
Yeah, there's some good updates on that because she is now an assistant manager there. So
that's what's up.
And she got her raise after holding out for a few weeks. So that's a good thing.
Congratulations.
And hi.
Yeah, hi, everybody.
Everybody loves the Rainy.
I'm tired. I need to go to bed.
Oh, there's Roger.
Well,
holy crap! Hi, Rainy. Nice to see you.
It's me. Hi.
If you don't know, it's Carl.
Yeah.
I'm whispering things. Yeah.
Am I allowed to go to bed now?
Only if you don't want to join in the conversation.
I don't. I'm tired. I'm really
It's
tired.
okay. That's okay.
Until I get back into the swing of things again.
I'm just
tired.
happy to see you.
Yeah.
See,
Right.
that's how tired she is.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Good night.
Cool.
Good night.
Good night. I love you.
See you later, Delaney.
See you later.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Don't whip your authority whip too hard.
Don't let her what?
Don't whip your authority whip too hard.
Oh,
Right.
her authority. Her authority.
Sergeant Brady is on the job.
Only to me. Only to me. Did you get that video I sent you today?
I don't remember it. I'm really tired.
Good night. I love you. I'll see you in a while.
Good night. Love you. See ya.
All right. Okay. Anyway, so we had a
That's
rating
what we-
sighting.
Right.
That's always a good.
Let's get back on track here.
Yeah.
Okay, this whole alien thing, 1946, the Roswell crash was a takeover of the US government.
Okay.
It was, plain and simple. You know. Really. Because
how you mean.
the Bush clan had already had bloodlines into the draconian reptilians, okay?
Okay.
And that's where all these presidents are related somehow, because these things already had control of this dimension, okay? So that's how they were able to orchestrate everything, i.e. the Matrix,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Nothing happens by accident, nothing, okay? And okay, Washington was actually a good dude, but he was put in there. It was he fulfilled his promise to the black folks, okay, because he was told by something, the things that he was seeing in the sky that was help guiding him along. It was that black dude was actually a hybrid. The spy that he used for both sides, and that helped infiltrate a lot of the fights and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The black slave guy, he was not of this realm.
Okay.
Put it like
Now,
that.
how do we know this? How do
Well,
we know?
I'm getting the downloads from Washington and the dude and the aliens right now.
Okay.
Okay, because I never really paid attention to it, but I'm getting all this
Now,
other.
how many people will they do that with? Because, like I asked the question during the show,
Oh.
are they going to contact our governments? And our governments will
No,
keep
what's happened with the governments? No. With Eisenhower, the good guys trying to talk and say, "Hey, man, we're gonna do this, this, and this, and that." But then there's these other ones, the vampiric ones that always want to stir up the wars and make the poverty and make everybody suffer and make the vaccines that kill everybody. You know, those guys are at war with the ones that Eisenhower met with. Okay, so put it like this: remember Independence Day, the movie number 2?
Yes.
When they killed the guys, when they shot the one that was on the moon, they killed the first guys that came, and then they kept the guy in the basement. Well, the good guys came, but they tried to. The bad guys took over over everything. Okay, put it like that.
Okay.
They're in the government. Okay. These reptilian beings that eat babies and children. Bill Clinton and his crew, them folks, they are, they're no good, okay? They are not the good kind. And then we got Hitler.
Aliens, the bad reptilians.
Right, the vampiric ones. My bloodline is from the ones that were made with the earth, what Jeffrey Doherty called the rainbow serpents, the ones that were created with the earth. I was created with the earth, and we're called the Chitahuri Zulu reptilians. That's part of my bloodline. Okay, Africa, the Zulus, and then 6 fingers. We had 6 fingers and all kinds of teeth, and we're tall and big, but we're shapeshifters too. Created with the earth, We were created with the earth. We are not from another dimension. Okay. But the ones that came, the outsiders that came, those reptilian guys, they're the vampire guys. Okay.
Okay.
Clinton and Maury Povich is not human. Not.
Povich?
No.
I was
he's
worried
not.
about him.
He is an energy. He is a negative energy eating vampire reptilian.
Wow.
Okay, well, Draco guys, per the identity thieves, the Khazarians.
See, now, my experience with you on a spiritual level and a personal level is always that you are an incredibly bright person. You know a lot of stuff. You have a lot of good spiritual juju going on. And when I hear you talk like this, the inclination would be, if I didn't know you, I'd think you were a nutcase. Where do you get the info? And so calm that down for the people who might think that, because what is it that you know that we don't know? How do we know your experiences are real? It's just your word is all you got to give on it. It hasn't made you a millionaire. It hasn't put you in the leadership of a people. It hasn't done anything. It's just, you're just a common person like you and me are common folk. Why do they come to you? Why are there things that show up?
Number one, I was born dead. Number two, my birthday. Number three, my bloodlines. I come from Austrian nobility and African reptilians. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Six-fingered folks. If you look up David Icke and Credo Mutua, you can go down that rabbit hole on your own time.
I talked about David Icke extensively in one of my books, 12 years ago. So I don't know where he is nowadays with things.
He was really sad.
I didn't want to totally be dismissive of him in my books, but I had some issues with him. And but I said I would love to sit down and talk with the man.
Okay. What the crazy thing is about it is that these entities that basically control this dimension. It's basically, you see the movie They Live with Roddy Piper?
I don't remember.
Oh God! He put on the sunglasses.
I don't recall the movie.
Well, look, it's on Roku.
I know who the actor is.
Watch it for free on Roku. Look it up. It's free. What you need to watch it.
It did not make a permanent dent.
It is a documentary revelation of what this is happening today. Okay, you have to watch it. Roddy Piper says, "Watch it and put on the glasses."
All right.
But the problem is that it's like everything that's happening basically is these things are feeding off of us, just like in the Matrix, you know.
Yeah.
For real, they really are feeding off of us. These negative entity being thingies eat. We create when the most energy that is created on an electric scale that has been able to be measured is anger. Love doesn't even register. But when somebody is angry, the energy that is perpetuated and created in that person's energetic field is off the charts.
Why doesn't love register?
It registers, but it's at a different frequency. This frequency that anger perpetuates feeds and gets these things high. And it helps them get strength to keep going and to keep creating more cocaine, as they say, because it wants to get high.
All right.
You know, and there's other entities that feed off of positive energy too. We have to understand that there's things in this dimension that thrives off of love, like animals, plants. Those living beings thrive off of love and kindness. Okay. Nature.
Well, we know that by experiments that have been done.
Right.
Musical experiments. I
know
those.
And these things are part of the creation of the fake artificial intelligence and the
What are
fake,
the
negative entities,
negative ones?
the
Okay.
vampires,
All right.
the negative energy vampires. There's positive energy vampires and negative energy vampires. We have to understand that, but we want to be like garlic. Garlic soaked in holy water. That's how we want to feel. That's how we want to have our energy frequency. Because
Okay.
I don't know if anyone's ever measured the frequency of holy water. It's pretty high.
Now that's
I
just
don't know if you've
because
seen experiments done on that
somebody
before. I
has
have.
blessed
Nuts. Huh?
it. So it's because somebody has blessed it the right way.
Right. They
So,
put a frequency on it. They put an energy into it. And I don't know if you've seen the ice experiments or whatever,
I
and
have.
the water experiments. Right. That frequency is detestable to these things. And if you've noticed that during Donald Trump's presidency, there was a lot of happiness and joy going on, wasn't there?
Mhm. There was.
A lot of positive things were happening. And who was pissed off? That lady didn't smile the whole 4 years. Nancy Pelosi, the newt.
Yeah.
She's a
Well,
dragon.
she
That's
wasn't
a
a very
fucking
happy person, was she?
lizard.
Still isn't.
She did not smile the whole 4 years, but the second he lost, that bitch couldn't stop smiling.
Mhm.
They're just happy, and then they start making all this strife and anger and problems and stuff. Okay, they couldn't wait to start stirring up the pot, poking us bears to get pissed off so they can feed off of our negative energy that we perpetuate when we get pissed off, angry, and guilty, and hungry, and hot,
Mhm.
Mhm. So that's where all these doggone aliens, people don't they're failing to realize there's more than what people are saying of how many different species of alien races there are. Okay, if you think of Star Trek,
Yeah.
and Men in Black, it's like that for real.
Okay.
For real.
It's
Really, it
interesting.
really is. And
I've heard as much from
right,
others
and then
over the years.
we have to also accept the fact that these things do interact with us on a daily basis. Like for me, for instance, I've people have donated money to me, and every time I've come back from the store, I've been tested by them, and one will come and ask me for some money for my donations. Like, I need some help. I got on video this one guy. You ever seen the movie The Arrival? Well, that guy, you could tell he was an alien. You could tell he had some weird mask on his body. And this guy that I met came up and asked me for some help. And I had just gotten some donations. I was on my way home talking about the hotel, the Monterey Hotel that looked like the Ghostbusters Dana Barrett's apartment building. And they changed the hotel into apartments now. It's livable now. And the guy asked me for some money, and I couldn't say no. And then it's like every time I get a donation from somebody, I'll encounter someone, which I know is not human, and they'll ask me for help. And I give. I give what was given to me. I have to give it back. Because if you don't, there's this weird test law, weird karmic thing that goes on with these entities. You have to put out positive, or the negative that you reap is going to be horrible.
Sure. I get that. I understand that. It's a karmic law. So
yeah, it really is. These entities, if you think you're having a weird alien encounter, you are. Don't deny it, because I tried to deny it. I tried to deny the spirits and alien encounters, okay?
The one encounter I had that I could think I thought was angelic of some sort or something like that was I've mentioned it before. It was about 10, 12 years ago. The old street guy looked like a former vet, but he was old, scraggly white hair and scraggly white beard, and asked if I had any money, and I I didn't have any change, but I had I think it was like a $20 bill. And I said, here, take this. I said, go get something to eat and don't just drink it all away. Promise me. And he said, bless you. And he wasn't talking very well. But then he left and he walked back and he said, I've got something for you. And he said, hold out your hand. He puts his hand in mine. It's a little cheap little nickel Jesus face engraved in tin, Bible bookstore type of stuff that Bible school or Sunday school teachers would give their kids in their Sunday school. And he said, this is for you. He says, when I talk to God tonight, he says, I'm going to tell him about you and what you did. And his voice was very clear at that point. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that. And then we were at this event downtown Minneapolis for a few days, and I never saw him again after that day. But
he disappeared.
I had often thought, was this guy? You remember how even in the Bible it says, in biblical language, it will talk about always give hospitality to strangers because you may be entertaining angels unawares. And, you wonder, is that what this guy was? And I asked people.
Exactly what it was. It's exactly what it was.
Yeah, well, I wondered. So, yeah, and, it's interesting stuff when you have encounters like that. And you say, who am I? Was that somebody different? Was it a street guy? Or was it that was shell-shocked and, a vagrant? Or was it somebody different? So that's interesting. Anyway, yeah,
that's crazy.
And I've probably had more experiences like that if I were to think about them. I sometimes wonder that things are maybe brought into our paths I used to think to develop character, to develop that it's God or it's your angels or it's whoever. Things are brought in front of you to teach you lessons, things like that. I remember when I was a youth pastor, way back in the early 80s, and I was driving a bunch of kids home from a youth activity. We were in my 68 Buick Electra, so we had about 12 kids in the car with me. And I'm driving them all home. And we had been talking about, I'd been doing this series, just like I do the radio show, only it was in Sunday school and in some of the youth meetings, called Improving Your Serve, talking about serving other people, being a servant. And in that metaphoric sense. And right in the thick of all this, and all these kids are in my car, we see a young woman sitting on the side of a busy street that we were going down, and it was cold outside, and she was sitting with like a tank top with her arms wrapped around her knees, shivering, and she looked like she was wet, and she was either drunk or high or coming down from something or what. We didn't know. We didn't have cell phones back then. So I had to, I stayed with her, and somebody went to call the police to get her some help. And I put my coat around her and left my coat with her. And but of course, never heard anything back from that. But you wonder, are people like that sent to put us to the test for what we say?
It's exactly what it is. They want to see when we do acts of kindness like that, simple acts of kindness, it puts major ripples into the universe of healing. The smallest act of kindness will fix a huge rip or a huge crack in the broken universe, because it's broken and I can't even want this and all off kilter. Okay, it's totally out of balance. When we do these things, it it starts to heal the broken.
Mm.
Okay, it breaks the curses that was put on the curses and the cracks and the breaks. And
Sure.
and when we do these acts of kindness, our thoughts, our actions, and our intentions really do put ripples of healing into the universe.
Yeah.
And these negative entities don't want that to happen, but they can't stop it because the way the universe works. The pendulum has now went to the other side. It's back to positive, and it's stuck. It's here. It's not no swinging back and forth now. It's been planted and hit the magnet zone, and we're stuck. Okay, so the ripples can't end. You know, they can still try to trip it up, but they can't. With every little crack or little trigger they do to push a button to make some anger happen, us good folks out here are counteracting that by 1,000,000,010. By just our thoughts, just our own acts of healing our own childhood traumas, we reverse the curses that have been put into this universe for so long.
Yeah.
So that's part of the Ragnarok Armageddon thing that's happening. It's the reversal of the damage that's been done.
So do you think that brings up a question I'd asked a long time ago, not on this show, but with all the biblical prophecy, when I was in ministry and into Bible study and all of that, I would ask the question when we'd sit around at seminary, do we have the ability to reverse Armageddon, to reverse the coming of the end times, to reverse the Antichrist, to reverse the work of the devil in the world?
Why would you want to?
It's a question. Just curious.
That's the problem. The negative entities don't want their ending to happen.
Right. I see that. Yeah.
Gotta stop the apocalypse. No, we gotta keep that shit going. We want to get rid of these assholes that keep killing folks and hurting babies. I'm tired of it.
Okay.
Simple. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's like we need to look at the logic of what's going on. Everyone's looking, we gotta stop. No, you don't want to stop the ending of the bullshit. You want the bullshit to keep going. You like smelling like shit.
True.
You like getting shit on. Come on now.
That's true. I'm thinking of the more, I guess I'm not thinking on the same wavelength, because when I look at that stuff, I think of ending what's going on in the Middle East right now. That's supposedly all of this looks like what it's supposed to look like in the build up to Armageddon. But I don't want to see, but I want to see the what's the word? I want to see the warring stopped. I want to see Israel be able to come out above this. And
why? Hold on a second. Look at that. Look, I'm gonna tell you this right now. Benny and them, I'm here talking about all the Israel, them folks. All this is happening to them for a reason. All this is happening for a reason because both of those races of people enslaved black folks and took their identities. Both of these races.
Well, didn't white folks do the same thing?
They hurt babies. They hurt children. Why would you want that?
Didn't black folk do that to black folks too, though? Did everybody enslaved everybody at one point? Right. But guess what? These Khazarians and these, what are they? The Islam folks. They're all vampires, right? But they're different types of vampires, and they're fighting against each other for power to keep eating us. They keep eating our energy, okay? Well, what's happening is that they've turned on each other in the worst way, and they're going to continue to cancel each other out. Well, see, now I see this
they cannot
differently,
continue.
though.
No, look now, them Khazarian folks keep putting dead babies in McDonald's food and shit.
So don't order the number 7.
Don't order none of that fast food stuff. It's horrible. The way okay, look now, them folks helped start the Pan-African slave trade. That's why Hitler did what he did, because the Nordics that he met with in Antarctica were friends with the Zulu reptilians from Africa of my people that they tried to massacre and exterminate. 6 of my ancestors made it here. All the other ones were just common earthlings.
Well, I'll tell you, I am in support of Israel. I am also, I don't see Benjamin Netanyahu as being, I see Israel as having reacted to, not ones that are helping to create it.
Right.
They're the ones that were attacked, and they said, you don't attack us, you are welcome here. What did they tell the rest of the Palestinians? They said, get out of there because we're going to wipe out Hamas. You are welcome to cross over into Israel. You can find safety here. You can be citizens here. And there are tens of thousands of Palestinians, Gazans, I should say, that are already citizens of Israel. They would cross that between those fences every day to go to work. And there are judges in Israel that are Palestinian. There are, or Gazan at least, Palestinian Gazan. And so Israel has always been open to its neighbors. I don't see them as one that is trying to perpetuate a problem, but they will say, just like you and I, if somebody was attacking your kids, you would take them out. And I think it's that kind of thing. You can seek peace and the creation of peace until
I personally feel that
doesn't do it anymore. And sometimes you have to step out and say, this is what has to be done now.
I think it's a major retardation of the human race.
Oh, I think any
have
like that, any aggression like that against
and religion and racial differences and wars against each other. You cannot say that my monster God is better than your monster God. Either both of them are both screwed up. Okay, one's a genocidal narcissist and the other one's a pedophile.
Who?
Both of them are actually.
Who are you talking about?
Allah and Jehovah.
Oh, well, yeah.
They're crazy. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't study religions and faiths of everything.
Jehovah? I don't know. I don't know.
He's a genocidal maniac. A genocidal narcissist. Don't worship nothing but me. Well, you know what? That chicken-headed guy has an insecure problem with mommy issues because he hates women.
Chicken-head guy? Which guy are you talking about?
Jehovah.
Oh.
Y'all debate off. The chicken-headed guy.
All right.
He's a chicken head. He looks like a chicken. Rooster head thing. I don't know. I've been studying religions and what these things look like for a really long time, man. Because I've had.
Johan, when talk to me about having to get the big picture. I've had the big picture.
It's crazy, man.
Years I've been studying the Middle East and Israel.
Right, and everyone needs to quit saying that Jesus is born.
I get really fed up with people that tell me, "Come on, you got to study this more and see the bigger picture." I've been seeing the bigger picture for a long time. I disagree with that take on it. October 7th was not an inside job. I don't believe that for me. That was the job of terrorists. And terrorists took out 1,900 people. They even had some of the terrorists in some of their videos and whatever. We can go into all of that.
Well, listen, when I can't hear you guys,
Hamas.
Look, I honestly don't know anything like this October 7th deal, but what I'm hearing now, what I'm sensing, my intuitive thingy, they're telling me what that was is that the entities were hungry and they needed that energy from the world. They needed to do that event in order to get the energy that they needed to feed to survive.
See, and we can call that whatever we want to call that. What I see, that was evil as far as I'm concerned. These were
Right.
people who
They
came in
needed to perpetuate that in order to get
mothers
our
and fathers
reaction.
and
So the
babies in their
energy that we
beds
because it
and
pissed us
kids
off,
at a
right?
rock concert. These are the people they attacked. Why did
Pissed
they
off
do
a
that?
lot of
Why did
people,
they
right?
attack the armies? Because they didn't
It
want
pissed
recruits.
off a lot of people, right? Simple. It made a lot of people angry. How dare you do that, right? That is the anger. You know how much energy these guys are getting high off of right now? It's a
I'm
crack
sure
smorgasbord for these
as much
fuckers.
energy as anybody who commits some atrocity against somebody else.
Right.
That-
Like
if
I
that's
said, these
creating
entities,
energy and it's entities behind it creating energy, the church might say, well, that's the devil.
no,
Somebody
the
else might
entities
say
are the ones who
that's
run the church.
reptilians. Somebody else might say that's aliens. I get that. I get that kind of stuff exists.
We just have to accept the fact that we are some type of energy source for something. You have a choice to feed them or to not feed them. You could react to all of this craziness with your own energy and your anger, which also diminishes the flesh and damages the body and the organs and the heart. You can continue to let that affect you in a negative way. Or you can just look at it as a logical point. We know this is outside of us, and we know that whoever had a good soul is going to continue to live in another lifetime. We have to accept
Right.
that. But these entities needed to eat. They were hungry. We were getting too happy because there was a lot of positive things started happening in the planet. It's shifting. The universe and the energy and the polarity of the frequency of this universe is shifting to positive, and these things are starving because we are taking away their food.
Okay.
Because
And
we are
I have to look into
transforming,
more of that to
elevating.
understand that a little better. I tend to look at what's going on in Israel on a more, for lack of a better word, a more practical level, a more down to earth
Right.
level of saying
We can't
that
even go there
we
because
can
it's not
talk
really
about
like
the
that.
esoterics of evil and what creates evil and people to commit evil acts. What I do know is that Israel was not committing an evil act against Hamas. And they were not committing an evil act against the Gazans. They warned the Gazans. They invited the Gazans to come in so they would not be hurt in this war, because they said, we are waging war against Hamas. We are going to make this so it will never happen again. And I don't think there was any kind of setup there. No offense to you, Johan. I've heard that kind of stuff before, and I don't buy it for an instant. Israel has always stood in the Middle East as the country that is like the sense of reason. They're the ones that have the democracy. How many countries do you see in the Middle East? Name them all. How many of them actually practice apartheid when they claim that Israel, now the Palestinians are claiming Israel has apartheid? Israel is open. Israel allows anybody to come in and be a citizen.
Yeah, you can be a pedophile in the United States and go over to Israel and hide.
Don't just yell your response. Hold on.
Sorry.
Israel is not doing that, but you've got every country around them. How many Jews live in those countries around them? Almost zero. Why? Because they are killed and they are forced out. And those are the countries. The whole Middle East is apartheid against Jews, not the other way around. And so all of this happened. I don't believe there was a setup. I don't think there was anything like that. I think it was like, Pearl Harbor. We were taken by surprise. Were there some people that knew? Yeah, we know that. We go back in history, and there's some people that had warnings. These guys were practicing on the other side of the fence in plain sight. Yeah. But what did they do? They parachute in at night and they start taking out kids at a rock concert, and they start killing farmers and their men and wives and their babies in their beds.
Yeah, that's bogus.
Why did it take 2 to 4 hours? I don't know that that's the fact, that it took 2 to 4 hours from the IDF to respond. I think there was a response time that had to kick in, though. I don't know how long it was. I don't know if it was 2 to 4 hours. How long would it take our military, even at highest? And Israel has one of the better defense systems, better armies. Why did it take 2 hours if it took that long? I don't know.
Because they
I
needed
don't
to
think it's because it was a setup. Go ahead,
these
Delaney.
these things needed to eat. But basically, that was like a
And that's
barb.
the stuff that you say that, and I'm okay talking about that and conversing about it and wanting to look into it, but that's the
Somebody-
stuff that's up over here. Nobody is talking about how these evil entities needed to feed, and that's why this happened. They're talking about the evil that is in men's hearts. And
Right.
this is why it happened. The hatred in men's hearts. The fact that Hamas has in its charter the annihilation of all Jews in Israel and the world over. That should tell you something for all these airheaded kids, minds full of mush, protesting on these campuses, saying they're protesting pro-Palestinian, yet the more you watch these protests, they have gotten more and more pro-Hamas and anti-Semitic.
Right.
And
what's so funny about
that is an evil. That is what caused the Holocaust. That is how the Holocaust started. So there is so much, and we can speak in generalities about this stuff because we're not sitting here having a debate or a discussion or a panel set up to talk all the details about what happened in Israel on October 7th. But you can't kill an ideology. No, you can't. But you can kill those who, if I've got, I'll put it this way, Johan. If I live in a neighborhood and there are some neighbors that want to keep attacking my neighbors and my kids, and this is a weird hypothetical because it'll never happen quite this way, but they keep attacking, there's going to be a point where you say, I'm going to stop you from attacking because words aren't working. Negotiations aren't working. You want what you want. Do you know that in the last few years that Hamas, the Palestinians have rejected, I'm sorry, in the past several months, that Hamas has rejected 17 ceasefire offers from Israel because they're not getting what they want. And what they want is the land underneath Israel. And Israel, or they want a state of their own. Israel said, that is not for negotiation here. You murdered 1,900 people, butchered them. You took another almost 100 people captive. You return those who are still alive. You return the hostages before we talk about anything you want. You return the hostages, you lay down your arms, and there will be a ceasefire. And Hamas has rejected it 17 times.
Right, because them things that are inhabiting those bodies of Hamas are negative energy vampires. These things, they look human, but they're not.
Yeah.
It's like it says in the Bible, what is unseen is more real than the seen. We have to go I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be a Bible thumper, but some of the stuff that's in the Bible is we have to look at these things, and like it says, to turn things upside down and flip it.
Sure.
Do that.
Oh, wait. Who says turn things upside down and flip it? You mean as our reaction is trying to figure things out?
Right. In the Bible, it says to turn things upside down and flip it.
I'm not sure what.
In order to see what it really is.
I've heard that. I read in the Bible that believers and those who are working on the side of God, if you will turn the world upside down.
Basically. Basically.
And Roger Rabbit says, I feel there's rarely any need to expend my energy in anger. What's the point? What do I gain from being angry? If I see no positive gain in my energy expenditure, I don't waste it. I stay neutral. Right.
And that's where
I'm
a lot of
basically that way all the time. What the things that will get me to the point where I say, okay, this is where I'm not neutral on what I'm going to say or the way I'm going to act, is I don't like pet answers to things. I don't like there are very few things that make me angry, really. I get worked up when I'm talking about things. I'm not angry. I'm not going to strangle anything. I'm not rageful.
Right.
But
Right.
there is a certain modicum of anger. Even the Bible says, be angry, but don't sin in the process. So anger is not a bad thing. It's a bad thing if it's taken to a bad place.
Right.
You can have righteous indignation about something.
Right. That's a different frequency. That's a whole different frequency, though. When we have righteous indignation about something, we have a passion. That's wrong. That is not right.
Right.
But then there's others that aren't in tune with what's really real, and they go nuts.
Yeah.
And there's even and sometimes people don't even go crazy. They'll change their whole lifestyle or pick up certain behaviors that are negative, and these energies that they adapt to and start to emulate will feed these negative entities.
Wait. Johan, you're not working me up. I'm passionate about some things.
Right.
9/11, I don't know if it was an inside job or not. There seem to be indicators that say it might have been. But there's no way to know for sure. We can't verify that. We can suspect it, and we can say, I'm putting this dot and connecting it with this dot and with that dot. But what if they don't really connect because we don't have any real way to investigate it? So we can conspire about that, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah. I got something to say to that. I totally got something to say to that.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into a show about 9/11.
No,
but I see your point, Johan, and I agree. There is some question up about that. Was the Bush family, did Bush have anything to do with it? We don't know. But the more you learn about the Bushes, sometimes you go, boy, that sure strengthens that case, doesn't it? But, we don't know for sure.
It's all a spider web of it's a spider web. Put it like that.
I think that there were better ways to accomplish what Bush wanted to accomplish against Saddam Hussein other than blow up 2 buildings in New York. I don't think that's what leads me away from conspiracy theory on that. I think there were other ways to get what he was after than killing 3,000 people by blowing up 2 of our landmarks. That's pretty extreme.
But these things needed to eat. They were hungry. They wanted a barbecue, put it like that. And it's sad to say, but, they had the triggering of what happened, the sicknesses that came after that.
Mm-hmm.
It was all, literally, it was a plan. It was not an inside job. It was an outside job outside of this dimension.
Okay. Yeah, I can go along with that. It's interesting. I asked John Zaffis. John Zaffis, he's called like the godfather of the paranormal. His aunt and uncle were Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Oh, okay.
And John was with him at the Amityville stuff or just post Amityville stuff. And he's been doing this ever since. And a big speaker at events and things like that. He's got the haunted museum of all the collectibles from demon-possessed things and all that. That's John Zaffis. I had asked him once, do you think that demons are behind what's going on in the world today? And he said, absolutely yes. And now that's his interpretation, I think, of what you're saying. He says, I think they're behind every seat of government, working behind the scenes. And you can call that demonology. You can call it reptiles. You can call it reptilians. You can call it aliens. You can call it whatever you want to call it. I think there is that evil that does exist. And something that pushes people into it. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what the Antichrist is supposed to be, an evil force that is very charismatic, and the world loves him. And he's a decent guy, but he has used the force behind him is one that's supposed to set the world on fire. So,
Mhm.
in a bad way. So, anyway.
It's crazy.
Anyway, so
And these things are telling me this war is going to continue for a very. It's going to go beyond our grandchildren.
sure it is.
It's not going to stop.
Nope.
It will eventually, but it's not going to stop any.
I think this stoppage is going to be the end.
Right.
And
Right. It's like the yin yang system. You
mhm.
have to have the good with the bad. But right now, what's going to happen is these things are with. Sometimes people feel like they're on the losing end, but actually, the people that think they're on the losing end are just gaining strength to come back with a harder blow.
All right.
But
That's a good question, Roger, because he says, just a thought, what part did COVID play into the Archon's plans? Pain
oh
and
god,
misery taste different than anger, or something totally different. You're right. I do think that there was a lot of anger that came out of all that pain and misery,
and
though.
fear.
Fear. Yeah. So, what do they say? Anger is. It's just fear. So,
Right, it's a different frequency of fear.
well,
Yeah,
guys, we got to wrap this up. I hate to say
yeah.
it. I'm
I'm
on a
tired.
roll too, but I got to cut this short because I got to call it a night. And
That's
but we'll pick this up again. Um,
great conflict.
we'll see if we can bring this up and bring you back in too, Delaney. I want to talk more about this and
Okay,
see what everybody's take is, and maybe get some good people in here that want to talk about it too, and get some guests in and people who are seem to be any authorities on this, and
let me
we'll see
give.
what's
Can I
what.
give the chat and the audience a little tidbit of
Sure,
advice? When
sure.
you feel something starting to trigger you and aggravate your spirit, counteract that with kindness and peace.
Mm-hmm.
Because whatever's trying to make you angry is wants to feed off your energy and drain you. Don't let it drain you, because when you get angry and have a temper tantrum or a freak out, how
Yep.
tired are you after that? You wore out. You go home and go to sleep for 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
Cancel that. Be like water. Be logical over emotional, and don't let the waves of emotions knock you down.
Sure. And that's a good thing to be. I mean, we all get angry now and then, and we all have things that want to raise our ire. We all get impassioned about them. Passion's different than anger, but
Keep that to 2
so
minutes max.
there you go. It's work. It's work to do that for sure.
Yep. Feel that just for 2-3 minutes max, and then let it go.
Well, you stay available. I might want to talk to you more this week. So,
Okay, I will.
all right, Delaney, good to see you.
Later.
Love you.
Bye
Thanks
bye,
for
Kyle.
everything you said. All right, guys. Thanks for the participation tonight. Johan, thank you very much for your comments. Roger, thank you for yours. Claudette, thank you for yours. And Matthew. And I sure appreciate everybody pitching in your thoughts here. That makes this show work as far as I'm concerned. And there's so much more. So, and Chuck is finding good comedy in it. So thank you for being here, Chuck. So, I wouldn't laugh too hard. Because sometimes the things that we find laughable are the things that are more real than we think they are. So can't prove that, but there it is. So everybody, thanks for being here. Let's get out of here. I got stuff to do, like sleep and stuff. So I can get up early tomorrow. My wife's got to get up early tomorrow. And so there it is. It's the end of the show tonight. Tuesday is going to be Robertson. if things go as planned, with Wendy Robertson and me at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. That's tomorrow. And Wednesday night and Friday night will be more of the same of this. So come prepared and tell your friends about it, and give the show a like if you're over in the YouTube channel, and that just helps the show. So thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. You all have a good night, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper.